Hello and welcome back to DFS Coach Talk. I am your host, Josh Davis, also known as Crash. Today is Thursday, February 23rd, 2023, and I am so glad that I am back to join you guys to talk about the NBA. It's been a week. It feels like it's been 2 or 3 weeks. It's just been way too long, so I'm definitely excited to get back into it. If you're new to the channel, if you would hit the like button and then hit subscribe. After you've done those two things, if you would hit the alarm bell, that will let you know when our newest podcast has gone live. Like I said, I'm so glad to be back for the NBA. And we've got a 9-game slate tonight, so a nice slate. Unfortunately, Coach was unable to make it, on the podcast with me today, so I'll be going solo, but we'll go ahead and get right into the 9-game slate. If you're new to DFS Coach Talk, before we do that, if you're new to DFS Coach Talk, you can join us at dfscoachtalk.com. We have memberships that start as low as $3 for 3 days, so we would love to have you join us. DFS Coach Talk is a very family-friendly, very encouraging environment, and we hope to see you join us soon. So let's go ahead and get right into it with our first game of the night. We've got at the 7 p.m. Eastern. We have three games starting at that time, the first of which is going to be the Denver Nuggets at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland is favored by 2, has a 223 over-under. For the Nuggets, they've got, quite a few injuries they're dealing with. Jamal Murray's questionable. Aaron Gordon is out. Zeke Naji is out. And then, of course, Connor Gillespie remains out. For the Cavaliers, looks like the only one that they're going to be dealing with is Ricky Rubio is going to be out. The projected starting lineup for the Nuggets, Jamal Murray, with him being questionable, he is listed as a starter, but we'll have to see if he actually starts and plays. Then we have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Michael Porter Jr., Vlatko Cancar, and Nikola Jokic. For the Cavs, you've got Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. My top plays in this game for Denver, of course, Nikola Jokic, especially if Murray's going to be out. He's going to get basically, a ton of usage. So he's definitely in play. He's 11-8 on both DraftKings and FanDuel. He's $58 on Yahoo. He's averaged 62.1 DraftKings points his last 4 games against the Cavs. He did have 69.8 DraftKings points against the Cavs on January 6th. And then with Aaron Gordon out, we've got some value here with I think I said, what did I say a second ago for, Vlatko Cancar. Couldn't remember his first name. Vlatko Cancar, 3,700 on DraftKings, 4,600 on FanDuel, and $10 on Yahoo. Like I said, with Aaron Gordon out, he is projected to start. So he'll be a nice little value play that you can plug in if you have limited salary left over once you built your main lineup. Then for the Cavs, we've got Donovan Mitchell, 9,500 on DraftKings, 9,100 on FanDuel, $37 on Yahoo. And then Darius Garland is 8,400 on DraftKings, 8,000 on FanDuel, $29 on Yahoo. And then probably the guy that's going to go under-owned that has had some pretty good success against the Nuggets, especially for his price, mainly on DraftKings and Yahoo. He's 6,600 on DraftKings, $27 on Yahoo. A bit more expensive on FanDuel at 7,800, but that's going to be Jared Allen. He's averaged 38.6 DraftKings points his last 4 games against Denver. So I do like Jared Allen here. I don't think he'll be very high owned at all. We'll get into ownership here in just a minute, but that's going to do it for my top plays on the first game. The next game is at 7 p.m. Eastern as well. The Boston Celtics against the Indiana Pacers. Boston is favored by 8, has a 232 over-under. Looks like both of these teams are going to be pretty healthy. The only player out for Boston is Danilo Gallinari, who's still out. And then Indiana looks like they're fully healthy. So projected starting lineups, the regulars for both teams. Boston, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Robert Williams. For the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, TJ McConnell, Buddy Hield, Aaron Naismith, and Miles Turner. I like both of the main guys for Boston here. We kind of got to see them go back and forth at the All-Star game. That was pretty cool. So Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, assuming this game can stay close, I do have some blowout concerns with the Celtics being fully healthy. Jason Tatum is 11,000 on DraftKings, 10,700 on FanDuel, $48 on Yahoo. He had 60.3 DraftKings points against Indiana on December 21st, and the Pacers have allowed the third most fantasy points to small forwards. So Tatum is in play as well as Jaylen Brown. He's a little bit cheaper. He's 9,200 on DraftKings, 8,500 on FanDuel, and $35 on Yahoo. Indiana has allowed the second most fantasy points to shooting guards. So both Brown and Tatum are in play. And then a little bit of a value in Malcolm Brogdon against his former team. He's 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel, $19 on Yahoo. He had 37.5 DraftKings points against the Pacers on December 21st. And he had a nice game also against my Bucks, his other former team, just before the All-Star break. So he is a little bit of a revenge narrative guy, and I think that that's something that you can play tonight as well. I don't really like anybody on the Pacers. I respect the Boston defense with everybody being healthy, and Tyrese Halliburton had a nice game against Boston last time, but Marcus Smart didn't play. So that's something you definitely want to keep in mind, and the main reason why I don't like any of the Pacers. Next game, 7 p.m. Eastern, Detroit Pistons at the Orlando Magic. Orlando's favored by 7, has a 228 over-under. For the Pistons, it looks like the recently acquired R.J. Hampton is not going to be playing. Well, he's questionable. Game time decision. And then Marvin Bagley, I don't think he's going to play. Yeah, he's doubtful. And then Nerlens Noel is out. Orlando looks like they're fully healthy. So we have for the Pistons, Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, Bojan Bogdanovic, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren. For Orlando, Markelle Fultz, Gary Harris, Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero, and Wendell Carter Jr. On the Pistons side, the main play that I like, the only play that I really like is Jalen Duren. He's 5,200 on DraftKings, 5,700 on FanDuel, $19 on Yahoo. He has averaged 35.3 DraftKings points in his 2 games against the Magic this year. And Orlando has allowed the 10th most fantasy points to centers. So I do like Jalen Duren. On the opposite side, I like Markelle Fultz. He's 6,000 on DraftKings, 6,500 on FanDuel, $22 on Yahoo. He's averaged 35.6 DraftKings points his last 5 games, and he is facing a Pistons team that has allowed the second most fantasy points to point guards this year. So Markelle Fultz is my other top play in this game. And then we move over to the 7:30 Eastern, where we have 2 games at that time period. And Philadelphia is favored by 3.5, hosting the Memphis Grizzlies. Has a 230.5 over under. For the Grizzlies, Steven Adams and Luke Kennard are out. For the Sixers, looks like Dwayne Dedmon, he's the only one listed. He's questionable. So we have for the Grizzlies, John Morant, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson, Brandon Clark. And then for the Sixers, James Harden, DeAnthony Melton, Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, and Joel Embiid. My top play on the Grizzlies is actually not John Morant. I actually like Desmond Bane. He's 8,100 on DraftKings, 7,900 on FanDuel, $29 on Yahoo. He had 52.3 DraftKings points the last time he faced the Sixers, and he's averaged 41.6 his last 5 games against Philadelphia. So I like Desmond Bane. With Steven Adams out, I think that both Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark are in play. Jaren Jackson is obviously more expensive, about $3,000 more on FanDuel. He's 7,800 on DraftKings, $34 on Yahoo. He did have 42.8 DraftKings points the last time he faced Philadelphia on December 2nd. He had his best game of the season just before the All-Star break against Utah. He had 56.8 DraftKings points. So I do like Jaren Jackson. And then also with Steven Adams out, Brandon Clark, he's 4,500 on DraftKings only. He's 5,300 on FanDuel and $18 on Yahoo. So Clark and Jackson are definitely in play with Steven Adams out of the lineup. They're going to need to be on the floor a lot, to guard Embiid. So On the Sixers, of course, Embiid, he's 11-1 on DraftKings, 11-7 on FanDuel, $52 on Yahoo. He did have 69.3 DraftKings points against the Grizzlies on December 2nd. Without Steven Adams in the lineup, this should be a smash spot for him. So I definitely consider him one of my top plays for a pay-up option. And he's not quite as expensive as he has been, earlier in the year. Let me check the chat, see what questions we have. JT, what's up? Emerson, Baby Gap shirt, how's it going? Good evening, Aloysius 5. Yeah, it's great. It really is great to be back. It was way too long, like I was saying earlier. So I'm so excited for tonight. I'm actually going to be at a meeting with our health insurance that I work for, so I won't be able to watch all the games like I would like to. But I'm definitely glad the NBA is back. So the next game we have at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, the New Orleans Pelicans at the Toronto Raptors. Toronto's favored by 6, has a 225.5 over-under. For the Pelicans, Zion Williamson is, of course, still out. Same thing with EJ Liddell. Looks like Dyson Daniels is listed as questionable. He was probable. He's been downgraded to questionable. I'm guessing that he's not going to play. For the Raptors, OG Anunoby is questionable as well. A game time decision. I don't think he's going to play. And Thaddeus Young is also questionable, and I don't think he'll play. So for the Pelicans, they have a projected starting lineup of CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy, Herbert Jones, Jonas Valanciunas. And the Raptors, Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam. On the Pelicans, I like CJ McCollum. He's 8,200 on DraftKings, 7,600 on FanDuel, $31 on Yahoo. He's averaged 47.1 DraftKings points his last 5 games against Toronto. So especially on FanDuel at 7,600, I think that's a really good price for him. So he should be a good mid-range player for sure tonight. And then Jonas Valanciunas, his former team, Toronto, going back to Toronto here, he's 6,100 on DraftKings and FanDuel, $20 on Yahoo. He's averaged 47.9 DraftKings points the last 5 times he's faced Toronto, and he had a decent 37.8 against them on November 30th. So I know his numbers have been down from what we would expect from him, but I do think this is a matchup that he gets up for based on, recent history, 5 games, pretty decent sample size. So I do think for his price, he's a good, mid-value play. For the Raptors, Pascal Siakam, 10-2 on DraftKings, 9,300 on FanDuel, $38 on Yahoo. The Pelicans have allowed the 7th most fantasy points to centers. And then the other play I like with Anunoby questionable is Gary Trent Jr. He's 6,100 on DraftKings, 6,300 on FanDuel, $23 on Yahoo. He did have a 46.3 DraftKings points game against the Pelicans on November 30th. So with OG Anunoby questionable, as long as he's out, then I do like Gary Trent Jr. along with Siakam. Next game is it's 8:30 Eastern. The Dallas Mavericks, highest favorite of the day at 14, with a 238.5 over-under against the San Antonio Spurs. For the Spurs, they have a ton of injuries they're dealing with. Jeremy Sohan is questionable, and then it looks like Trey Jones is probably going to be out. Khem Birch is out for sure. Same thing with Romeo Langford, Isaiah Roby, and Devin Vassell. And then for the Mavericks, the only players they have listed as out are Davis Bertans and Maxi Kleber. For the Spurs, they've got Malachi Branham, Keita Bates-Diop, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan. If he plays, it looks like he's probably not going to play. He's listed as questionable with a quadricep injury, so I'm thinking he's not going to play. And then Zach Collins. For the Mavericks, they've got, with the exception of Kleber, and Bertans, pretty much everybody. You got Luka at point guard, then Kyrie Irving, Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Green, and Dwight Powell. If this game stays close, Luka has had some monster games against the Spurs recently. He had 85 DraftKings points the last time he faced them, which was on New Year's Eve. He's 11-9 on DraftKings, 12,000 on FanDuel, $59 on Yahoo. On top of having 85 DraftKings points against San Antonio on New Year's Eve, he's averaged 73.2 the last 3 games against them. And in one of those games, he had another 80 DraftKings points game. So absolutely monster numbers. Do expect it to come down a little bit with Kyrie being there now. And, there's a chance that the game won't stay close, a pretty good chance of that. So, it is risky to play him, but he does have probably the highest ceiling on the slate. And then Kyrie Irving, I like him as well. He's 10-3 on DraftKings, $9,900 on FanDuel, $44 on Yahoo. He's averaged just under 50 DraftKings points per game in his 4 games with the Mavericks at 49.7. So he's in play as well. If you think the game's going to stay close, it very well could be a blowout, and then you're not going to get the value you need. All right, so let's go ahead before we go into the night slate. Let's go ahead and take a break and look at the ownership. So for right now, on DraftKings, it looks like the highest projected owned player is Talen Horton-Tucker. He's 4,800. He's at 54. That's a huge number on a 9-game slate. 54.5% ownership projected. Then you have Damian Lillard at 11.4. He's 31.6. Killian Hayes at 4,700, 30.2. Walker Kessler at 5,700, 26.1. Kevon Looney at 4,400, 22.9. Kelly Olynyk, 5,300, 22.7. Tobias Harris, 4,900, 21.4. Zach Collins, 5,600, 19.8. Joel Embiid, 11-1, 19.7. Luka, 11-9, 19.6. Matisse Thybulle, 3,500, 19.3. Malachi Branham, 4,500, 17.8. Jordan Clarkson, 7,500, 17.7. Wendell Carter Jr., 5,800, 17.3. Jared Allen, 6,600, 17%. And Markelle Fultz, 6,000, 15.3. On FanDuel, Jordan Clarkson is number 1 at 6,400 at 53.1%. Jeremy Grant at 6,100, 50.8%. Talen Horton-Tucker, 5,600, 43.8%. Matisse Thybulle, 4,200, 31.8%. Damian Lillard, 10.5, 31.1%. Lauri Markkanen, 8,300, 28.2%. Harrison Barnes, 25.8%. Killian Hayes, 5,500, 25.7%. Franz Wagner, 5,800, 25%. Fred VanVleet, 8,200, 22.7%. Dante DiVincenzo, 5,300, 20%. Drew Eubanks, 4,900, 18.5%. Jonathan Kuminga, 4,100, 18.4%. Walker Kessler at 7,000, pretty expensive, but 17.6%. Markelle Fultz, 6,500, 17.3%. And SGA at 10-2, 17%. On Yahoo, Talen Horton-Tucker, number 1, $16, 46%. Jordan Clarkson, $24, 34.8%. Damian Lillard, $47, 34%. Walker Kessler, $22, 31.4%. James Harden, $38, 29%. Lauri Markkanen, $36, 26.8%. Tied with him is Keita Bates-Diop at $11. He's 26.8%. And same thing for Matisse Thybulle, $11, 26.8%. Paulo Banchero, $26, 24.2%. Darius Garland, $29, 23.8%. Kelly Olynyk, $19, 23.2%. Jeremy Grant, $26, 20.6%. And Robert Williams, $19, 20.4%. Tied with him, Josh Green, $12, 20.4%. All right, let's take a look and see the chat. Yeah, Todd, it really did. It did feel like a month off. It's been crazy. And Travis, what's going on? The owner of the Wyndham Hotels, as Coach likes to say. Glad to have you guys. All right, so we have 9 o'clock Eastern is the next game. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Utah Jazz. Utah is favored by 1, has a 239 over under. These last 3 games, as you might expect, have pretty high over unders. You've got actually last 4 with the Spurs and the Mavericks also at 238.5. You got 238.5 in that game, 239 in this game, and then 238.5, and then 241.5, the highest game of the night in Sacramento. So for the Thunder, Pokashevsky is out. For the Jazz, Colin Sexton is out. So that's why you're seeing all the Jordan Clarkson and Taylor Horton-Tucker ownership. For the Thunder, their lineup: SGA, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Jalen, and both Jalen with a Jaylin Williams at center. For the Jazz, Jordan Clarkson. They have Udoka Azubuike, but I think he's actually a center, but they have him projected at shooting guard. That's really interesting. We'll see what happens there. Then Lauri Markkanen, Kelly Olynyk, and Walker Kessler. With Azubuike, Olynyk, and Kessler, that would be like a 3-center lineup, which is crazy. And Lauri Markkanen isn't small himself, so that would be a really big lineup against the Thunder. So we've got SGA on the Thunder. He's 10-5 on DraftKings, 10-2 on FanDuel, $49 on Yahoo. He had 63.8 DraftKings points against the Jazz the last time he faced them, which that was last year. That was on March 6th, so almost a year ago. On the Jazz, my favorite play is Walker Kessler. I like him more than both Tucker and Clarkson personally. He's 5,700 on DraftKings, $22 on Yahoo. Now he is 7,000 on FanDuel, so I don't like him as much over there. But on DraftKings and Yahoo, I think he's going to be a core play for me. And then I do like, Taylor Horton-Tucker with Sexton out, 4,800 on DraftKings, 5,600 on FanDuel, $16 on Yahoo. Not as high on Jordan Clarkson as the ownership seems to be, but I don't think he's a terrible play at the same time. Next game, we have marquee matchup. It's the second game on the Thursday night doubleheader. I believe the first game is the Grizzlies at the Sixers, and then we have the Warriors at the Lakers. Lakers are favored by 6. It's a 238.5 over under. For the Warriors, Steph Curry, Iguodala, Gary Payton Jr., and Andrew Wiggins are out. And then it looks like both AD and LeBron will play, but they are listed as questionable. So actually, no, LeBron has been upgraded to probable, and AD has been upgraded to likely to play. So I would expect the full Lakers lineup tonight. All right, so for the Warriors, we've got Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Dante DiVincenzo, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney. The Lakers, D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, LeBron, Jared Vanderbilt, and Anthony Davis. My favorite plays in this game for the Warriors, I like Jordan Poole. He's 9,100 on DraftKings, 8,300 on FanDuel, $31 on Yahoo. He did have 50.3 DraftKings points against the Lakers in their recent matchup on February 11th. LA has allowed the third most fantasy points to point guards this year. And I think with Patrick Beverly gone, I think they're going to probably struggle against point guards even more now. So I do like Jordan Poole. Draymond Green is also in play. He's 7,400 on DraftKings, 6,800 on FanDuel, $24 on Yahoo. He did have 41.8 DraftKings points against the Lakers on February 11th. They have allowed the fourth most fantasy points to power forwards. And they have also allowed the fourth most fantasy points to centers. So on DraftKings at 4,400, I like Kevon Looney and $16 on Yahoo, but I don't like him on FanDuel at 5,700. And then on the Lakers, assuming LeBron plays, I would prefer him over AD because he's put up absolutely monster numbers against the Warriors. He's averaged 64.1 DraftKings points the last 5 times that he's faced the Warriors. So I like LeBron here at 10-7 on DraftKings, 10-1 on FanDuel, and $49 on Yahoo. And then the other play I liked, I'm probably not going to mention as much now because with LeBron in the lineup, Jared Vanderbilt's not in play as much for me, but I did like him if LeBron was going to be out. All right, last game, Portland at Sacramento. Sacramento is favored by 6.5, has the highest over-under, like I mentioned earlier, 241.5. For the Blazers, Nurkic is still out. Same thing with Simons is out. Justice Winslow, Ibu Baji also out. And then for the Kings, the only injury they have is KZ Okpala. So Kings are pretty healthy here. Not the same case for the Blazers. They're pretty beat up. So you've got Damian Lillard, the recently added Cam Reddish and Matisse Thybulle. Then you have Jeremy Grant and Drew Eubanks for the Kings. Their normal lineup with De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, and Domantas Sabonis. Damian Lillard is one of my favorite spots on the slate. He's 11-4 on DraftKings, 10-5 on FanDuel, $47 on Yahoo. The Kings have allowed the 9th most fantasy points to point guards. He's averaged 55.2 DraftKings points his last 5 games against the Kings. And without Simons, Nurkic, all those guys in the lineup, I think that, Lillard's going to get a ton of usage. And he's absolutely been killing it, right up to the All-Star break. So I definitely like Damian Lillard. He is looking like he's going to get quite a bit of ownership, though. So in tournaments, probably going to go to a pivot with somebody else. Of course, that'll be posted in Discord later. But definitely like him in single entry and cash. For the Kings, I like Sabonis at 10-1 on DraftKings, 9,600 on FanDuel, $41 on Yahoo. Portland's allowed the 6th most fantasy points to centers this year. And with Nurkic out, I think it's a really good spot for Sabonis. He struggled quite a bit the first time that he faced Portland this year. I think it's a good bounce back spot for him. I also like De'Aaron Fox. He's 9,800 on DraftKings, 9,400 on FanDuel, $37 on Yahoo. He did have 54.8 DraftKings points against the Blazers on October 19th, and they have allowed the 10th most fantasy points to point guards. So I do like Fox and Sabonis both on Sacramento. And as far as PrizePicks goes, let me check and see. Well, first of all, we do have the second half of the season free square with Luka. All he has to do is have one game with more than 30 points, which of course we all know he's going to do that. So you take the over at 0.5, 30 plus point games the rest of the year. And if he gets 30 plus tonight, then that'll pay out tonight. All right. So the other plays I like are going to be, let's see, what's his fantasy score? Yeah, LeBron, more than 47.5 fantasy score. As I mentioned, he's averaged like 64 in his last 5 games against the Warriors. So I do like that more than at 47.5. I also like the less than for Tyrese Halliburton assist at 8.5. And there's another one that I like. See if it's still at the same number. Yeah, more than 26.5 points, real points for Donovan Mitchell. Let me see real quick here. So he has gone over that number, smashed that number his last 5 games. He's averaged 34.6 points. So, and then he had 40 in the All-Star game. So I definitely like Donovan Mitchell over that number. Before we get out of here, does anybody have any last-minute questions? Charlie, what's going on, man? Glad to have you. I'm going to take one quick look at ownership again, see if there's any updates while you guys are thinking of any questions you may have. Yeah, it doesn't look like there was an update for the last 30 minutes. All right. I don't see any questions as of right now, so I'm going to go ahead and end this. If you do have a last-minute question, you can type it in the chat, and I'll try to do my best to answer it before I leave. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back tomorrow. I think Deb is up tomorrow for the Friday night slate, so looking forward to that. Hope everybody has a great night. It's great to be back with the NBA as we look to crush it, as always, in NBA, DFS, and PrizePicks. Thank you.